There were times you gave in to your impulses, times you postponed, times you quit, times you made promises and broke them. That's exactly where the story of discipline begins. If you clicked on this video, chances are you've realized something's missing in your life. And that missing piece, it's not motivation, it's not intelligence, it's discipline. Discipline is choosing what's right, not what's easy. It's staying true to your decision, even when no one's watching. Even when every part of you wants to turn back, you keep walking forward. Most men don't fall because they're weak. They fall because they stop honoring their own choices. And here's the truth. Discipline isn't something you're born with. It's something you build. That's what we're doing today, but I'm not here to give you motivation, because you don't need another boost. What you need is to become a man who can lead himself. Because a man who owns his will doesn't surrender to anything in life. But before we start building, we need to understand what willpower really is and what it isn't. We've heard the word willpower so many times, we've forgotten what it really means. For most men, willpower brings up images of grinding your teeth, forcing yourself through pain, pushing no matter what. But the truth runs deeper than that. Willpower isn't just about setting a goal and chasing it. It's about staying loyal to that goal even when things change. Let's say you made a decision. I'm going to wake up early every morning. At that moment, you felt strong, committed, clear. But then morning comes, you're tired, you can't even open your eyes. That's when the real test begins, because willpower isn't the excitement you felt when you made the decision. It's being able to honor it days later. For a Stoic, willpower means acting despite your emotions. It's showing up even when you don't feel like it. It's continuing even when the motivation is gone. Some days you move forward with passion, other days with nothing but loyalty. Willpower is something no one sees from the outside, but you know it's there. It's the quiet discipline only you can feel. No one applauds you, no one notices. But you know, you kept your word today. Marcus Aurelius said, "The mind is defeated not by outside forces, but by itself." What stops you isn't the world out there. It's the excuses inside your head. Willpower is the ability to hold on to your decision, even in the middle of chaos. Whether it's raining, whether your mood is off, if your decision stands, so do you. Most people think strength is about beating others, but true strength is beating yourself. And that doesn't come from random motivation. It comes from choosing again and again on purpose. Willpower isn't just what you do, it's why you do it, and how long you keep doing it. Sometimes even a small habit like making your bed every morning can be one of the building blocks of discipline. Because when you stay loyal to something small, you train your mind for something bigger. Remember this: a man with willpower doesn't act because he feels like it. He acts because he gave his word. Today, being disciplined might sound impressive, but willpower isn't a cool label. It's a quiet choice, made daily. But knowing what willpower is, isn't enough. You also need to notice how you lose it, because most men don't lose willpower in battle, they lose it in comfort. When a man gets used to comfort, he buries his willpower with his own hands. And the worst part, he doesn't even notice. We say willpower is like a muscle, right? Well, that muscle weakens the more comfort you feed it. The more comfortable you get, the less power you have to decide, because you're no longer choosing, you're just reacting. Today, most men start their day without ever waking up mentally. They get out of bed, but they don't really rise. The alarm rings. They hit snooze 3 times. They know what they should do, but say, "Just this once, I'll skip it." And nothing happens the first time. But that nothing eventually becomes your identity. Comfort is a dangerous enemy because it feels good, but it slowly makes you forget your potential. You stop fighting, You stop choosing. You just exist. And one day, when you look back, you realize you didn't live your choices. You just lived your circumstances. Epictetus said, "Get used to what is right, not what is easy." What's easy brings short-term comfort. What's right creates long-term transformation. Going for a walk in the morning? Not easy. But you do it because you gave yourself your word. Locking yourself in your room after arguing with your mom? That's easy. But saying sorry? That's hard. And it's the right thing. Scrolling social media? Effortless. But picking up a book and focusing for 30 minutes? That's where real willpower shows up. If a man can choose what's hard, he can command his mind, his emotions, and his body. That means he's conquered his inner world, not just the outer one. Remember, willpower isn't lost in battle, it's lost in comfort, because comfort doesn't challenge you, it distracts you, it makes you forget the fight inside. Soon you're not tired from struggle, you're tired from the silence. And one day, at the end of a day when you've done nothing, you whisper to yourself, "Who am I slowly becoming?" The moment you ask that question, there's still hope. Because the moment you become aware is the moment change becomes possible. And now, it's time to build that change. Through the one thing that fuses discipline with structure: rituals. A ritual isn't just a habit, it's armor worn by willpower every single day. In the chaos of everyday life, you need a fixed center, something steady to keep you from losing your direction, and that center is built through repetition. Waking up at the same time, saying the same words to yourself each morning, starting the day with the same simple action. Each one is a reminder: I'm here, and I haven't forgotten who I want to be today. For the Stoic man, a ritual is a private ceremony. No one sees it. But it shapes his character. It's not a prayer. It's the daily repetition of a promise you made to yourself. Willpower shouldn't only show up during hard times, it has to be protected even in the ordinary ones. That's what rituals do. Making your bed, brewing a cup of coffee, sitting in silence for 5 minutes. They may seem small, but over time they shape you, because repetition forms character. What a man does in the morning defines who he becomes by night. The first hour of your day is the compass of your mind, and a man without a compass gets blown around by every wind. If you have no ritual, your morning gets hijacked by the world. Notifications, noise, other people's priorities. But if you do have a ritual, you don't just start the day, you lead it. The day doesn't come to you, you walk into it. That difference, it can change your life. And the more it's repeated, the more it transforms you. Willpower grows not through inspiration, but through structure. Without a ritual, your emotions make your decisions. With a ritual, your values do the talking. Who do you want to be today? Start acting like him through ritual, and if you repeat that every day, you become him. You grow sharper, stronger, more grounded. Ritual is not about desire, it's about choice. It's not for show, it's for loyalty. And the man who stays loyal rebuilds himself. The strongest man isn't the one who holds himself together. It's the one who organizes himself. The man who returns to the same place each morning doesn't leave his life to chance. Because he knows discipline brings freedom, and ritual is where freedom begins. And that beginning happens every single day. A man's morning is the rhythm of his destiny. But some days, even your rituals fail. And on those days, your willpower has to walk through fire. Because real discipline only shows itself when things get hard. When things get hard, most men back off. But why? Because pain is uncomfortable. It wears you down. It tests you. But here's the secret. Those tests are not punishments. They're tools that shape your character. Willpower doesn't show up when life is easy. It reveals itself in the fire. Comfort distracts you. But difficulty? Difficulty grows you. Willpower is formed when you don't feel like it, but do it anyway. When you go for a run on the day you least want to, that's when you grow. When your emotions scream enough, but you keep walking forward, that's willpower. And that kind of willpower, it grows in places no one sees. Seneca said, "Strong souls aren't shaped without facing strong enemies. Every crisis is a doorway to transformation, but walking through it takes courage." The Stoic man is the one who moves forward despite fear. He may shake, but he doesn't run, because he knows every fight you avoid comes back stronger later. Running from the fire is human, but real growth happens when you step into the fire on purpose. Because in that fire, what's fake burns away, and what's real remains. If you want to reach your core, you have to be willing to burn. Struggling isn't a weakness, it's where your mental muscles grow. Every time you say, "I don't want to do this," a door opens. To walk through that door, you need willpower. And every time you do, your inner strength expands. Willpower is fueled by pain, but it doesn't drown in it. The man who swallows fire and eventually becomes himself. So don't run from what makes you uncomfortable. Move toward it, because what will rebuild you is hiding right there. Every small moment of resistance you face during the day is practice for something bigger. If you can hold steady in those small moments, the big battles won't scare you. Hardship defines you, but it's how you meet the hardship that shapes your name. Every challenge is a choice. If you run, you stay the same. If you stay, you change. Whatever is challenging you today, that's where the seed of your willpower is being planted. And in the next part, we'll look at where that seed gets tested most. In the emotional storms within. Having willpower doesn't mean being emotionless. A Stoic man doesn't suppress his emotions, but he doesn't surrender to them either. Because he knows emotions are temporary, but values are lasting. Discipline means staying true to your values even when your emotions are pulling you in the opposite direction. You might feel tired. You might not feel like doing anything. You might be angry, hurt, or sad. But those emotions don't have to stop you. What matters is learning to recognize them for what they are, temporary, and learning how to lead them instead of letting them lead you. When a man ignores his emotions, they grow in silence and eventually take control. But a man who sees them, accepts them, and manages them understands the real meaning of willpower. Because willpower isn't just about mastering the outside world. It's about holding steady within yourself. The Stoics weren't enemies of emotion. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens that disturbs you, it's your thoughts about it." So what breaks you isn't the emotion itself, but how you interpret it. A man with true willpower recognizes his emotions but doesn't become their prisoner. He feels anger but still shows respect. He feels alone but still takes responsibility. He feels exhausted but doesn't give up. This is the foundation of inner leadership, and leadership only becomes real when you can lead yourself. You might have thoughts or feelings that sabotage your progress, but how you relate to those emotions, that shapes your future. Don't suppress your emotions. Understand them, listen to them, and guide them. Suppressed emotions become stronger, but managed emotions fall into place. When a man becomes clear about his emotional life, his decisions become clear too, because he knows why he's doing what he's doing. A man who can't manage his inner world won't stand strong in the outer one. But a man who can lead his emotions can lead his life, because the hardest battle is the one inside yourself. And to win that battle, you have to stop seeing emotions as the enemy and start treating them as allies. Now it's time to move on to the final building blocks of this discipline: clear boundaries and the habit of self-accountability. If willpower is a strong structure, its foundation is daily reflection. For the Stoic man, each day is a chance to face the mirror. But this mirror isn't out there. It's within. And looking into it takes courage. A man who never holds himself accountable will always blame the world. But a man who questions himself at the end of each day slowly begins to find his direction. What did I put off today? Where was I honest, and where did I run? Who did I bend for, and where did I stand tall? These questions aren't for judgment, they're for clarity. Because willpower isn't just built through action, it's also built through awareness. Just a few minutes of reflection each night can remind you of who you are. Marcus Aurelius once wrote in his journal, "What happened to me today and how did I respond?" That is the compass of willpower. Because a man without a compass eventually gets lost in someone else's path. A man who makes reflection a habit stays grounded. Even if his day was chaotic, he looks himself in the eye at night and resets for the next morning. Because willpower doesn't mean being perfect. It means having the courage to transform. The man who doesn't turn inward ends up living by everyone else's agenda. But the man who listens to his own inner voice daily writes his own law. And a man with laws doesn't lose his direction. One small act of self-reflection each day creates deep mental structure over time. But that structure has a price. Loyalty to your decisions. And now we've arrived at the edge. That thin line between staying true to your decision or running from it. Excuses come in disguise. Sometimes they show up as tiredness, sometimes as a valid reason. Sometimes it's just the weather. But in the end, they all take you to the same place, where progress is delayed and self-respect quietly fades. A Stoic man recognizes an excuse but doesn't hide behind it, because he knows every excuse offers short-term comfort but causes long-term damage. Not today, I'll start tomorrow. I'm just not in the right headspace. No one's watching anyway. Sound familiar? These are the silent enemies of willpower. And sadly, the excuses you believe the most are often the ones that hold you back the hardest. Real discipline is hearing the excuse and not following it. It's when your inner voice says, "Just skip it," and you respond, "No. Keep going." That's where transformation begins. When a man justifies every excuse, he slowly weakens his inner authority, and he doesn't even notice it happening. It starts with one small delay and grows into a complete surrender. Excuses become habits, and habits shape your character. If you give in to excuses every day, you're surrendering your willpower without realizing it. When you say, "I'm late, but oh well," your self-discipline erodes. When you say, "Not today, but I'll definitely start tomorrow," your direction starts to drift. An excuse might save the moment, but it damages your future. When your mind says, "Maybe this really is too hard," that's when you need to choose honesty over comfort. Because real strength doesn't start with noticing the excuse, it starts with overcoming it. The Stoic man doesn't suppress the excuse. He sees it, he names it, and he rejects it with clarity, because he knows even a small excuse repeated enough can destroy something big. Remember, your life is shaped by the excuses you surrender to, or the ones you rise above. And every time you say, "I didn't do it," you've already made a choice. Now comes the one thing you need to carry that choice forward. Loyalty. Persistence. Walking without turning back. Loyalty is often seen as something you give to others. But for the Stoic man, loyalty begins with staying true to your own values, your own decisions, your own journey. Real willpower doesn't show up when you start. It shows up when you keep going. Taking the first step takes excitement, but taking the second, the fifth, the 50th, that takes loyalty. And that kind of loyalty doesn't come from applause. It comes from a quiet decision made within. That's why the Stoic man chooses to be the one who continues. Most men can start, very few can sustain, because loyalty requires patience. It means doing something without seeing quick results. It means showing up every day for months without validation. Waking up at the same hour, sticking to your principles, keeping your word even when you don't feel strong. That is real commitment. Do I really have to get up today? Do I have to show up again? Do I have to stay grounded again? Yes, because you made a promise. Loyalty doesn't come from high motivation. It comes from deep decision. And that decision must be made again, every single day. Willpower isn't just tested by chaos, it's tested by routine. And most downfalls don't begin with a storm, they begin with a small slip. That's why the Stoic man doesn't chase big declarations. He looks for quiet consistency. It's what you do when no one's watching that defines you. And that's where true character begins. Loyalty turns willpower into habit, habit into identity, identity into a way of life. And the more loyal you are, the clearer you become, the simpler, the stronger. Remember this, it's not the one who starts fast who wins. It's the one who keeps walking. And that's why the Stoic man doesn't rush. He walks, but he never stops. And in the end, he arrives. If you've made it this far, this video wasn't just content for you. You didn't come here just to watch. You came here to change. We talked about willpower, about discipline, ritual, walking through fire, about leading your emotions, rejecting excuses, and finally staying loyal to your path. But in truth, it all comes down to one question. Who do I want to become? The Stoic man is the one who dares to ask that question and answers it not with words but with actions. No one's going to clap for you, no one's going to say, "Well done," but every morning you'll quietly choose who you are, again. Willpower isn't a flashy slogan, it's a quiet decision, repeated day after day. And that decision will slowly shape you, because now you're not just surviving, you're walking your own path. Remember this, plenty of men make promises, very few keep going silently, but you're part of that rare few now, and that alone is a journey worth walking.